let me tell you what the let them theory is. The let them theory is just this simple hack. And here it is. Whenever someone is doing something that you don't like, let them. Here's how it works. If your friends are not inviting you out to brunch this weekend, let them. If there's a person that you're really attracted to, you've been dating for a while, but they're not interested in a commitment with you, let them. If your kids don't want to go to a movie this weekend, let them. If your parents don't want to come see you over the holidays this year, let them. If your spouse jumps ahead in the series you've been watching together, you know how they do that, let them. See, the next time you feel yourself getting annoyed or upset or spiraling out of control, just say these two magic words, let them. It's very straightforward. There are millions of uses for it. And here's the coolest part. It works every single time you use it. Because every single time you quietly say to yourself, let them. I don't know what it is, but there's something about that phrase. It has this just magical way of diffusing all the frustration, disappointment, all the upset that you feel. And here's the thing. You're going to learn as I take calls from listeners that the let them theory is not about letting people walk all over you or treat you like crap. That's not what this is about. It's the opposite. You will be more in control when you use it. And here's why. See, when you say let them, you stop giving your time and energy to other people and to situations that you can't control. And you know what that allows you to do? It allows you to take your time and energy back and figure out what's going to work for you. Now, I've been using the let them theory for months, and I got to level with you about something. Before the let them theory, I cannot believe how much time and energy I had been wasting allowing myself to get so frustrated by stupid things, or how much energy I was burning through trying to control other people. And trust me, you start using it, you're going to see. And I can't wait for you to experience it. It's truly insane. And I want to tell you the story about how I discovered this, particularly in case you're brand new to the Mel Robbins podcast, and this is the very first time that you're hearing about this let them theory. And so I'm going to tell you quickly the moment that I discovered this thing, and I need you to brace yourself, okay? Because this is such a stupid story. But I'm going to tell it to you because it really drives home this point that you and I waste so much time and energy trying to make the world match our expectations, and it's going to stop today. And you're doing the same thing in your relationships, and that's what's causing so many problems in your relationships. And so here's the story. So it was our son Oakley's junior prom, and I was just getting all worked up about so many dumb things. I mean, from the moment we got to the party, you know, where you're supposed to take all the photos before prom, all I could think about was all of the things that I wanted to be happening that weren't happening. I just got myself so worked up. You know how this happens in life where you just think things should be going a certain way, and then you get annoyed that things aren't going a certain way, and then you start to try to control things, or you're judgy about things. Well, that was me. So we walk into this pre-prom photo party. Holy cow, this is like a tongue twister. We walk into this party, right? And I'm like, why doesn't his date want a corsage? Why didn't all the parents dress up for this party? Why are the kids driving to the prom and not taking a bus to the prom? Why is it raining out right now? Why didn't our son bring an umbrella? And get ready for the really, really big thing that got me all like, you know, twisted up into a knot. Why are these kids going to a taco stand and not going to a fancy restaurant for dinner before prom? And that's when my daughter, Kendall, reached over and ever so gently grabbed my arm and said, "Mom, it's Oakley's prom, not yours. If they want to go eat tacos in the pouring rain before prom, let them." And when she said, "let them," I don't know what happened. It's as if she clobbered me with a magic wand. Let them. Let them get soaked. Let them eat tacos. And as I said those two words, let them, it was wild. I felt the frustration leave my body. And here's the other thing I felt, and this is really important. I felt my focus shift. It shifted from controlling my son and from having an opinion about everything that was going on around me. And all of a sudden, I shifted back to myself. I mean, let them eat tacos. Who cares? Let them get soaked. Who cares? Mel, why not think about what you're going to have for dinner instead of getting all worked up about what they are? And here's what's crazy about this. Once I learned these two words, let them, I started repeating let them every day in almost every situation to unhook myself. And the more I used the phrase to just let my emotions rise and fall in a stressful situation, the more I realized that, you know what, the things going on outside of me, they don't have to make their way inside of me. And so here's the gist of the let them theory. You ready? The more you try to control something, the more out of control you feel. It's true. And the only way to feel in control in life is to focus on where your time and energy is going, to focus on you. I mean, this morning, the folks that pick up the garbage, they didn't come to our house, right? Let them. I mean, I don't need to take it personally, like they broke up with me or ghosted me or, they're so disrespectful. Let them forget to pick up garbage at our house. And now this is where the magic comes in. Now that I'm not taking it personally, I'm not offended, I can handle it effectively, right? I'm not going to handle it emotionally. I'm going to handle it effectively. Let them forget and let me pick up the phone and call them and say, hey guys, seems like you forgot. Could you swing by? And then I'm going to let them respond. See how easy this is? See how magical this is? You get what you want and you don't get emotional. Bada bing, bada boom. I have something so cool to share with you, and I know you're going to love it because I shared something called the let them theory in an Instagram post less than a week ago. And I just looked it up. There are over 14 million views of this thing, which always tells me when something goes that viral that it strikes a nerve. And in this post, it's just a quick selfie video, and I'm explaining what's called the let them theory. It is a game changer, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. But to just tee this up, since this went so viral, I want you to hear what I said in this selfie video on Instagram. Check this out. I just heard about this thing called the let them theory. I freaking love this. If your friends are not inviting you out to brunch this weekend, let them. If the person that you're really attracted to is not interested in a commitment, let them. If your kids do not want to get up and go to that thing with you this week, let them. So much time and energy is wasted on forcing other people to match our expectations. And the truth is, if somebody, especially somebody you're dating or who's a friend or somebody you're trying to partner with in business, if they are not showing up how you need them to show up, do not try to force them to change. Let them be themselves because they are revealing who they are to you. Just let them. And then you get to choose what you do next. The let them theory. It's so obvious. And once you learn it, you are going to use it so many times a day. It's just going to blow your mind because the let them theory is going to allow you to detach yourself from the things that cause a lot of struggle and angst and emotion to come up when you get controlling. The let them theory also allows you to let go of the reins and give space for other people to take responsibility. Let them do it. And finally, what you're going to learn is that the let them theory, it is incredible because when you let somebody just be who they actually are, and you stop trying to make them something else, you realize in so many friendships and so many relationships, you actually are in love with their potential. You're not in a relationship with who the person really is. And you've been so busy controlling and trying to change them that you don't even recognize that you're in a relationship with their potential. And when you let somebody be who they actually are, wow, it allows you to understand who you're actually dealing with. So I can give you a quick example of the let them theory in play because it works for things big and small. And I will tell you, this is something that I have to use all the time. Just this weekend, it was our son Oakley's prom. He's a junior in high school. And here we are in Southern Vermont. And I'm used to doing prom a certain way because we raised our daughters outside of Boston in a suburban town. They're also daughters, so they were more controlling. They were organizing everything. It was a community where I knew all the families, all the kids, the traditions were locked in. Everybody knows everybody else. And so here we are in this new town in southern Vermont, and Oakley's going to the prom with somebody we've never met, don't know her parents. We don't know any of the traditions here, and it doesn't seem like there are a lot of them, honestly. But one of the traditions that was present is that there were girls that were organizing groups of people to come to their house for pre-prom photos. So we go to this person's house, and it was really great to meet everybody, didn't know a soul there. We get there, and I'm standing there with Oakley, and it starts to rain. And not just rain, it is like a torrential downpour. The kind of storm where you go, that really sucks. You know, it really sucks. Like, you are going to look like you have taken a shower if you walk out the front door of this house and try to walk 20 feet through this rain to get to your car. That's how hard it was pouring rain. And so they're standing there, and it's about 5 o'clock at night. Prom starts at 7. And the kids start talking. So what do you want to do for dinner? And I look at Oakley and I say, you guys don't have a reservation somewhere? He goes, no. And I then said, well, what are you going to do? Do you want me to call? And I start then jumping in, right? And over functioning with my anxiety, which we have talked about before on this podcast, the do. And the kids are kind of gathering around, and somebody goes, well, why don't we go to Avocado Pit? Now, Avocado Pit, just to put this in context, is this amazing little, amazing taco place, right? It's got maybe 6 tables in it. It's tiny. It's like the size of one stall of a garage. So we're talking 1 car parking place. And there are 20 kids in tuxedos and long dresses, dressed to the nines. It is a torrential downpour outside. And their plans for prom are to go to a fast casual joint in the center of town that could maybe have 6 of them standing inside. And I immediately start going, you can't go to Avocado Pit. You're going to get wet. What about? I am controlling. I'm that person. And my daughter turns to me and she says, Mom, if they want to go to Avocado Pit, let them. It's his prom. It's not your prom. Let them. And when she said, let them, it's as if I just went hands off. It was this little cue that was like, okay, you're doing that thing. Just turn from controlling everything, Mel, and let the current of what's happening take you in a different direction. And immediately what happens when you adopt the let them theory is that you are able to catch yourself when you're controlling people, and you don't need to be. You are able to drop into a more surrender, peaceful feeling instead of letting your emotions rev you up. And it kind of begs the question, right? Because I've been thinking about this. Why did the let them theory? Why is it so resonant for people? Why did 14 million people in a matter of a week watch and share that video? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because every single one of us struggles with controlling behavior, or we struggle with controlling thoughts. And the let them theory is a way that you can check yourself so that your controlling nature or your controlling or obsessive thoughts don't control you. Because the reason why we do this, we control other people or we just can't let it go. Like, have you ever been in a situation where maybe your buddies organize a golf trip and they don't include you? Or the women in your life go away for a weekend and you're not invited? Or a friend that you adore is dating a real asshole, somebody who's horrible for them. Let them. I mean, how much does you worrying about it, how is that going to change anything? It's not. How does spending 200 hours talking to your friend about this horrible person over and over and over, it doesn't. Let them. If somebody's firing you, let them. If your company's going through layoffs, let them. It is so liberating when you drop the sword, when you just let go. And there's this really interesting analogy that's going to help you that comes from a psychologist. I've got a ton of notes for this. So you're going to hear me doing my notes because I want to get this right because there's so many tools because this does not come naturally to us. And I'm going to explain why. There's a psychologist, Dr. Amy Johnson, who uses this example. And I think we can keep coming back to this visual. When you tip into that control mode, and we all do it. I mean, come on, you can kind of go, oh God, Mel, let the kids get a burrito for crying out loud. But don't you dare tell me that if the roles were reversed, you wouldn't have questioned the decision to not have a reservation, first of all, before prom. And secondly, to then want to go to some burrito bar, right? In the middle of a rainstorm. But I digress. Here is the visual from Dr. Amy Johnson. She says, whenever you go into control mode, imagine that you are in a tiny, tiny boat and you're paddling upstream. You are paddling against the current. It is hard to paddle against the current. It is a fight. That is what it feels like when you're controlling other people, right? Or you're trying to control them. That's what it felt like for me at this pre-prom party. Because as these kids are casually talking about driving over to the avocado pit and grabbing a bite to eat, I've got my oars and I'm fighting against that current. And I'm like, but you should have had other things. But what about this? But you're going to get your date's going to get her dress wet. What the fuck, Mel? So what Dr. Johnson says is that when you catch yourself doing it, you are fighting against the current. You are literally paddling up emotion inside of you and resistance and frustration because it's frustrating when you can't control the people around you, right? It's frustrating. It doesn't create more control. It actually makes you feel less in control. What she says is you must let go and surrender. And so she'll visualize, just hands off the oars, drop the oars. And what happens is the boat in that situation, what does it do? It turns around. And instead of going upstream, when you drop the oars, the boat naturally just floats downstream with the current of how things are going. And you will notice the same thing. That instead of fighting what's happening, you are able to drop the oars and just surrender to what's going on, which creates peace and ease for you. Because does it matter if Oakley and his friends want to go to the avocado pit? Of course not. Who gives a shit? In fact, it might be the most memorable part of prom. Standing in the pouring rain, all of them crowded in this restaurant, ordering tacos before the thing. And so the bigger point here is I don't think any of us are aware of just how much energy and effort and time we waste on shit that we're trying to control. And the let them theory is a lever that you can pull so you can create more peace and ease and love and all of it in your life so you can float with the current of things instead of battling it so far. And the reason why we have this controlling nature is, believe it or not, it's a form of anxiety. When you are overbearing on people, maybe you're an overbearing parent. We have a lot of people who write into this show whose parents are immigrants to the United States, and they were completely overbearing. Why? Well, because of two reasons. Number one, they probably had a lot of fears. There was a lot of uncertainty. They wanted you to succeed. They wanted you to fit in. They wanted you to have the best of everything and more opportunities than they did. And so they pushed you and pushed you and pushed you and pushed you. And the second reason why people do that is because they think it's a form of love. That if I push you, if I look out for the best for you, if I think about all the things that could go wrong and I micromanage you, don't forget your umbrella, don't forget your lunch, do this, do that, be this kind of major, that you think you are looking out for the best for somebody. But what you're actually doing is you're suffocating people. The second reason why we are also controlling and why you need the let them theory is because it's easier to focus on other people. You trick yourself into thinking that you're going to be in control if you can control other people. It doesn't work that way because you can't control other people. You can manipulate them. You can guilt them. You can shame them. You can compliment them. You can love them, but you can't control them. Okay? You can just try to. The person that you can control is yourself. And every time you use the let them theory, you immediately reverse the focus of that control on everybody else. And you turn it back on yourself. I'll give you an example of that. Let's say that your friends have gone away this weekend, okay? And your feelings are hurt. If you sit there and worry about it, why did they it left me out? I feel left out. I'm always left out. What did I do wrong? Blah, 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 blah. Maybe I should text them. Maybe I should say something. Maybe I should. No. You know what you should do? You should let them go away. You should let them go away. And you should stop focusing on what they're doing. Because all this obsessing about it and thinking about what you need to do in order to control what's happening, it's not working. And secondly, it's distracting you from what you really need to do, which is put the focus back on yourself. As you're sitting there, ask yourself, well, if I'm this upset by it, what do I need to do to make sure that I am proactive about friendships, that I'm the one organizing these things? That's where the real power is. And finally, the reason why we engage in such controlling behavior and these obsessive thoughts is because oftentimes it distracts us from the truth. Oftentimes, when you are, I stop and think a little bit about this situation with Oakley and the prom, and it's really dumb, but there's a very deep underlying thing that was going on. I've gone through 4 prom experiences with our daughters in a public high school outside of Boston. And it was not like the prom here. And I think all of the things that felt unfamiliar reminded me that I'm in a new place. We got home from that pre-prom photo party. I turned to Chris and I said, I'm really kind of sad because I miss knowing all the kids. And I miss knowing all the parents. And I miss seeing kids that I have known since they were in diapers, all grown up in tuxes. And I think I'm just kind of sad. And I'm controlling where Oakley is going to eat because that was something that was always part of the prom experience back home. And so a lot of times the controlling or the obsessing is triggered by the way you think things should be or the way that you're used to things being. And you're uncomfortable with the uncertainty, which is why you jump in and you do this. And so that's where the let them theory comes in. Because ever since sharing the let them theory with you a few months ago, I have been under just a tidal wave of questions and comments about the let them theory. So today, you and I are going to answer them. And to do that, we're going to go to a studio in Los Angeles where I am taking calls and the phone lines are jammed. And the very first person who is on the line is a guy named Daniel who's calling from Los Angeles. Let's go.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What's up?
Well, I just have a quick question for you.
Sure.
The let them theory, just a little background. Like growing up, I was always kind of like the peacemaker in our family.
Uh-huh.
And now that we're all adults, we're all moved out of the house, the conflict that arises between us still kind of makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten good at like removing myself from other people's drama and not trying to like play the peacemaker in every conflict that comes up.
Great.
But it still makes me really uncomfortable. And I'm just wondering if, especially when, I visit home or they're calling me about each other, what do you suggest?
First of all, I think it's really cool that you have the awareness of the role that you've played in your family dynamic. And I also think it's really cool that you have started to teach yourself how to take a step back. And here's what I would recommend, because the let them theory, when you use it in a situation with family, it's about unhooking yourself from the old dynamic and letting the conflict play out between family members without feeling the need to be the person who's responsible for creating the peace for everybody. So you're doing a great job with that. The second thing is, one of the reasons why you would jump in to try to keep the peace is because the conflict makes you uncomfortable. And so it does not surprise me that when you remove yourself from it, you are still feeling these unsettling feelings. And one of the reasons why you've always been the peacemaker, Daniel, is because when you step in and try to solve the problem, the discomfort that you're feeling internally disappears because you're focused on being a peacemaker. And so the opportunity of growth for you is to sit with that discomfort, to let the discomfort rise up inside you, and to notice, oh, here's that thing. This is what would normally turn me into a peacemaker. Instead, I'm just going to breathe for like 90 seconds. I'm going to remind myself that we have been a family that does this forever, and we will be a family that probably does this forever, and that I have decided in my life that I'd rather sit with this discomfort than insert myself into every single issue in our family. And so the more that you just notice the discomfort, you tolerate it, you tell yourself it's going to rise and it's going to fall, and they're adults and they can either figure it out together or they can call therapists and get a professional involved, but I'm done here. The faster that discomfort's going to go away. So that's number one. And I can relate to this because I, like you and like a lot of people, have always felt like it's my job to make my mom in particular happy. And anytime I felt like something was up, I felt discomfort. Like, okay, what can I do to make her happy? Just is the way that it is. And the more that I've used the let them theory to just let her have her own reactions, let her blow up, let her be uncomfortable, let her want to do something that I don't want to do, let her have her opinions. The more I've noticed, wow, I was really inserting myself a lot more often than I needed to. She's not really as unhappy as I thought. She's not sitting around waiting for me to solve this. I've just sort of done this to myself. And so it's been very liberating for both of us because you're involved in the dynamic. Let's get to the second part of the question. What do you do when they call you to gossip? Gossiping, Daniel, is a form of bonding. We strengthen relationships by complaining about other people. And there's a very big difference between gossiping, which is just venting or complaining about something, and sharing a frustration with the specific intention of problem solving and getting advice to resolve something. And so what I think you should do is consider training everybody that you are available for problem solving, but you're not available for venting and gossiping about mom or dad or about the brother or the sister, because that's what creates a toxic dynamic in a family. And so the next time somebody calls you, you can say, that sounds awful. And here's the deal. In order to protect the peace in my life and to hopefully make our family a little bit stronger, I've got this commitment that I just don't want to gossip about each other anymore. I am happy to hear you tell me what happened, and I'm happy to offer up some sort of solution. But I got to pull myself out of this gossiping dynamic because it's not great for our family and it's not good for you. And I just think it's keeping us stuck. And I want something more for us. How does that sound?
Right. I mean, that's very helpful. I think a lot of the conflict is between my sister and my mom, and my sister and I have a lot of the same, experiences with my mom. So we fall into that habit of gossiping really easily.
Yeah.
Where we're, just reminiscing about things from the past that probably aren't relevant.
Same.
I think that's a really, really good call out for me to just notice when that happens and take a step back.
And here's, as somebody that did the same thing, and we all do this in our families, right? Is that the more I've used the let them theory to let my parents be who they are, let them have the discomfort or the opinions or conduct themselves the way they are. And the older they get, the more set they are in their ways. It's a fact of life. The more I'm realizing that I feel that my story about who my parents are or the gossiping or the complaining kept me stuck in an old dynamic. And that the second that I just kind of use this mode of acceptance, they've been this way forever. It's not my job to change them. It's not my job to make them happy. They are functioning adults. The more I realized, wait a minute, They're actually pretty happy. They're like, I'm creating a lot of drama that is unnecessary. And when you unhook yourself, Daniel, I want to offer up a really beautiful possibility. You also create space for someone to show up differently, because the dynamic of drama in families always has multiple players involved. And the second one person is like, I just am not going to participate in this, the person that is stirring the drama doesn't have anybody to stir it with. And your sister can call you and say, can you just help me talk through a response that's not emotional? Can you help me unhook myself? That's a different conversation than, boy, she was such a bitch. Remember that time? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, the tone and the intention is different. And I would absolutely forward her the Let Them Theory episode, because both of you using it together will profoundly shift the dynamic in your family overall. Okay?
Amazing.
You're amazing. Hey, Jennifer from Baltimore, you're on.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Your Let Them theory has really been life-changing for me.
How so?
I recently left a 21-year teaching career to write a novel. It's something I've been wanting to do for over 30 years.
Wow.
And I know. And it was with the support of my wife, because obviously I'm not bringing in income because I'm writing all day, every day. I'm wrapping up my last chapter of my first draft, which is exciting. People have been very opinionated about this whole transition, most of it good. With my mother-in-law, it hasn't been as positive.
Okay.
My son, who's 11, had told her back in June I had quit my job. And I hadn't told anybody, but he's 11. Yeah, her response was, that's crazy. This is ridiculous. And my son, who's my biggest cheerleader, said, it's not ridiculous. I think it's great, which is very heartwarming. But as time went on, I haven't had any contact with her. And apparently she had talked to my wife and was a little upset about the whole decision. So I'm trying my best to be in that Let Them theory with her, but I haven't seen her since.
How long's it been?
It's been, I think it was back in June that I saw her, around the time that my son had told her.
Okay. So it's been many months since you've seen your mother-in-law, who was extremely critical of your decision to quit your job and pursue your dream of writing this novel.
Right.
And is that a long time for you not to see your mother-in-law?
It is. I mean, they live only an hour away. We usually see them every few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't come to any of my son's baseball games. I don't know if she's avoiding us. I'm not really sure why that is happening.
Okay.
But my fear is a lot of time, because of her opinions, I kind of shut down around her. But at the same time, I don't think this is right that she's expressing these opinions, especially to my child, and just letting her do this. I don't know if I could live with that.
Well, what is it about her opinion that really bothers you?
I guess it's because sometimes she will gossip about other people to me, so I fear that she's gossiping about me to others, but I shouldn't really be concerned about that.
What about her gossiping about you to other people bothers you?
I'm not sure. I guess I don't want people formulating an opinion about me without getting to know who I am. I've been fortunate enough that other family members have not done that, and they've gotten to know me. I don't feel like she has gotten to know me very well.
Okay. So, Jennifer, a couple things. Everybody has an opinion about you, whether they know you or not, right? Like, everybody forms an opinion. It's just a fact of life. And the real opportunity for you is to unhook yourself from that concern. And the Let Them theory is so important for you because your mother-in-law's opinion about your career is irrelevant to you. And I could come up with a couple really positive interpretations to her outburst to your son. One of the positive interpretations is that she cares deeply about you all. She has a deep fear about financial issues, and she's just worried, and she does not know how to process her worry, which is stemming from concern and love and all the beautiful things. It's not an indictment that you're dumb or that you're not going to be successful. It's her like fear and her like, "Wah," coming out, which means it's not about you at all. And the second thing that I want you to consider, and this is a totally different interpretation because you're in your story that there's something wrong with her having a negative opinion. And the fact is, she just has an opinion that rubs you wrong. She blurted out this opinion to your 11-year-old. And the coolest part of the story is your 11-year-old was like, well, you know what? I think it's cool, which shows you're a fucking amazing mom. Okay, let's just get that straight. And
Thank you.
and that your son has his own opinions and isn't swayed by what his grandmother thinks and is able to express them, which is a beautiful thing. And then the other piece that I will tell you is, what if what this is triggering is a deep dream that your mother-in-law had for her own life, and she never had the courage to go for it. And when she hears somebody that she knows and loves has suddenly quit a job, which for that generation meant stability, it's what you did, it's kind of what everybody expected of you. You have done something that for her was unthinkable. You have put yourself first. You have put yourself out there as an artist. You're in a marriage where your spouse supports you doing that. Like, that might actually have been something she could never experience. And so you having this in your life is stirring something up in her. Now, saying all that doesn't justify or excuse the fact that she was opinionated about it. It just gives you a completely different interpretation of why people react, especially the people who are closest to us, when we go for something that we really care about. And the reason why is when she hears that you're doing something amazing, you have quit your job, you have the support of your spouse and your son, you are pursuing this manuscript, you're going for it, it makes people look in the mirror and go, well, what am I doing? And so you have no idea what got stirred up other than fear and angst and something else. And being of that generation, she has almost zero tolerance for that kind of emotional turmoil inside her. So she pukes it at her grandson. That sounds like a typical grandmother to me. And if she's gossiping about you, Jennifer, who cares? Like, why do you care?
Yeah, you're right.
And look, it hurts. You want the mother-in-law or the mom who is always supportive and always talking amazing things about you and has your back. Like, we all deserve that. And most of us don't have that because most people are not capable of that because they haven't figured out how to sit with emotions that are uncomfortable. And so we gossip and we snap at people and we say things that we don't mean to say. And then when you sit with that, then just like you, she's nervous to see you.
Right.
And so here's what the let them theory also does. You got to unhook from your mother-in-law. You are now an artist and a novelist who is observing the stories of life and telling stories. And there is something inside this dynamic with her that if you create the space where she can have her reaction and you can have yours, and both are true, then you have this space to be able to then do the most powerful part of the let them theory. You let her be, but then what do you need to let her know? Do you need to let her know that it hurt your feelings? Do you need to let her know that you would love to feel supported in what you're doing? Do you need to let her know your boundaries? Or do you need to just realize that the thing that's actually bothering you is that she hasn't been supportive, period, or that it's been tense, period. Like it might kind of excavate something deeper.
Right.
What do you think it is?
And it might be deeper because I don't really feel like we've gotten, I mean, it's been 20 years, and I don't think we've really gotten to know each other very well. We just kind of spend time around each other.
Ooh, a lot of us can relate to that. Spending time. Is there something that your spouse is doing or not doing that would help with the situation? Or is this just one of those situations where you need to let her be her and she doesn't have the capacity to show up differently? And you need to let
Are you
yourself.
talking about my spouse?
No, I'm talking about your mother-in-law.
I mean, my spouse is very into the let them theory, and she's always been like that with her parents. They're going to be the way they are, and she just lets them be.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type of person that likes to stir up emotions, especially when it's not my mom. It's my spouse's mom, and I don't want to like cause any friction.
Well,
so I'm very quiet about everything.
So are you not yourself?
No, I don't think I am myself around her.
Well, that's why you are just around her. And the question is that in order for you to shift the relationship, you have to do two things at once. One is you got to give your mother-in-law the space to have her opinions and to get her feathers ruffled and to get upset about things and to not get hooked into it. And you must give yourself permission to show up as you. And I think that's what ultimately is bothering you, is that you're realizing that you have been just protecting the peace in this relationship. And in doing so, you have started this war with yourself because you know you're not yourself around your mother-in-law.
Right.
And that's something that you can shift. It doesn't require you to express boundaries necessarily. It just requires you to show up a little bit differently, more of yourself. And you also have within you the right and the ability to make requests of your spouse around the way that you could be supported better in this relationship.
Okay.
Okay? Is that helpful?
It's very helpful.
What did you get from that conversation?
That I just need to open up more and be myself and not just quiet myself in situations that might be a little uncomfortable and just show up as me.
Yeah.
And then when I don't feel supported, express it. I don't feel supported.
Exactly. That's it. And then let them support you or not. That's all there is to do. You are responsible for expressing your needs, for expressing your feelings, for showing up as yourself, and for doing what you need to do to create a better life for yourself. That's what you're responsible for. Other people are responsible for their emotional reactions, for their feelings, for their boundaries, for all of that. You don't need to manage that anymore. You just need to focus on being yourself. Fabulous. And I can't wait to read your novel. Good job. I love you too.
Thank you.
All right, let's go. Is it Aaron from New York City?
Yes.
Hi. Hi there.
You're so amazing. I absolutely adore you.
I love you
I
too.
just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all of the wisdom you share every day. And I love that you're sharing the let them theory with us. And I'm going to ask you this question, and maybe it's a little bit of like a mirror side of that, but you're just so brilliant. I'm going to go for it.
Go for it.
You know, let people just sort of be who they're going to be and you be you. And I grew up in a really abusive childhood, and it was my job to make sure that my mother was happy, my job to take care of her. So here I am in my late adulthood. I just survived horrible cancer, and I have a new lease on life. And I'm thinking, what would my life look like if I let me? If I stopped feeling like the only way to get love or to be loved or to be treasured or to be valued is to take care of people, to be on the phone at 1:00 in the morning, to answer all their questions, to be the problem solver. And, how do I just let people and myself deal with the fact that I'd rather focus on myself right now and give back to myself? How do I let me while I let them?
You
Will I
just
ever have a friend again?
listen, you just actually got the full secret of the let them theory. The let them theory is not about other people. It's about you. It's about how you have poured all your energy, your concern, your time, your brain power into other people. And when you highlight how often you are managing other people's reactions, managing other people's happiness, tiptoeing around the topics, shrinking yourself, bending yourself over backwards to help other people, staying silent, not asking for what you need, showing up when you don't feel like it, doing things out of guilt. When you start to use the let them theory to highlight how often you are resisting the reality of the situation, what happens is miraculous. The more that you let someone be unhappy, the more that you let somebody find support in other places, the more you let somebody throw their tantrums because you're not going to buy them a cell phone, or you're not able to drive them to the airport, or you can't solve all their problems, the more you realize how much time you actually have and how much energy you have that you could be directing back at yourself. And so you just figured out the big secret about the let them theory. The let them theory is when you unhook from other people, the need for other people to be pleased with you, the need for other people to be happy first. And when you start to go, oh, well, I could let them be. I could let them be upset. I could let them figure it out. I could let them know how I'm feeling. But then it's on me. Let me be responsible for my happiness. Let me be responsible for my needs. Let me be responsible for saying no, or saying I'm done, or saying this doesn't work. And then how the let them theory will work with your mom or whoever is now getting the actual new you is they're going to tantrum. They're used to you being there. They're going to throw the guilt at you. Let them. Let them. It's not going to work on you anymore. It's worked for years. And so expect them to throw it at you. Let them deal with themselves. And, I've also said, and I'll say again, that this does have exceptions. We don't let our friends just get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking. We don't just let somebody sit in suicidal ideation. We pick them up and take them to the emergency room. We don't just let people, discriminate against others or do something really dangerous. You offer support. You make recommendations. You express your boundaries. And then again, you got to let them again. And so expect your mom to tantrum because she has, through emotional manipulation, turned you into her human blankie. And you're not doing it anymore. Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, the flip side of let them is exactly what you said, to stop. The challenge is also, who are you then if you're no longer the fixer?
You
and
tell
what's
me.
your value?
Who are you?
That's something I'm going to have to sit with because I've spent my entire life being the fixer. I'll fix it. I'm going to make it right. I'm going to help you. I'm going to solve that problem. And the thought of not doing that is not only what other people's reactions will be, but then now who am I? What's my value? What's my worth?
Is fixing everybody else's life making you happy?
It makes me feel that I matter and that I'm needed.
Okay.
And so, like I said, the flip side of letting them, which is like, I don't do that anymore. I've even been telling some of my girlfriends who've had the same boyfriend problems for years and years, I love you so much, sweetheart. I'm just not up for the boyfriend conversation anymore.
Great.
Like, if you want to ask about, anything else, but just no more boyfriend troubles. I'm sorry, please get a therapist or find another girlfriend. I'm a little burnt out on the boyfriend problems.
I love that.
I started to set boundaries. And, the two of them have said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels kind of good.
Mm-hmm. Because you want to know why?
Scary. Like, will they still love me and call me over for Christmas dinner if I'm not the person who's like, the on-call therapist?
Well, hold on a second.
I might wind up pretty lonely for a while.
Hold on a second. Here's the thing I want you to understand. That number one, being a really good friend means you're willing to tell your friend the truth. Being a really shitty friend is when you listen to it and then silently complain to yourself about it. And so you just did them a huge favor because there's probably nobody else in their life that is willing to tell the truth, which is you have been stuck in this cycle forever. And I have been a part of this cycle because I've listened to it. I've offered advice. I have offered suggestions. I have expressed my concern. And now I have to tell you, I am no longer available for the conversation. And what you just did is you told the truth, which is what you're responsible for. And now you're going to let them sit with it, which is one of the greatest gifts that you could do when somebody is stuck in a pattern that is self-destructive, which they are. And if telling them the truth because you love them and you're concerned about them and because you also love yourself and need to protect your peace, if telling them the truth is what makes them not invite you to the holiday dinners, then you weren't really friends anyway. Because that's not what a real friend would do. And yeah, there will be some space where maybe some friendships start to fade. But what happens if you're willing to believe in it is that you're creating space for people that can have more reciprocity in terms of how you want to live your life and what you want to feel to show up. And what you may find, if these have been friends for a very long time, is that that conversation is actually the catalyst that starts to shift something. And if it means you don't get invited for holiday dinner, that's a really small price to pay for changing somebody's life. And, the other thing I want to leave you with, because I really relate to who am I if I am not just fixing everybody's problems? It is possible to be a fixer and not lose yourself. It is possible to be somebody that helps everybody else without losing who you are in the process. And it is possible to support people in your life and be loving and be there for people and not take on responsibility for all of it. You have just discovered the full secret, which is when you realize you're not responsible for other people's happiness, you are not responsible for other people's boundaries, you're not responsible for managing other people's tantrums, you're responsible for your truth, you're responsible for your needs, you're responsible for expressing yourself, you're responsible for telling people how you feel. That's it. You're responsible for creating what you want. And when you start to accept that responsibility and act accordingly, you will be able to help other people because you're choosing to consciously instead of doing it reflexively because you think that's what you need to be doing to feel wanted and needed in life. I'm so excited for you. Let's go to Liz in New Jersey. Liz, you're on with Mel Robbins.
Hi, Mel. Great to talk to you, too. I'm a big fan. My question for you today is I have dealt with this lately, actually very recently. My parents have gone into a terrible financial crisis due to my father's gambling. And I had to take a back seat to it all. I had to put some distance, like about a few weeks. But every day in those few weeks, I felt like tightening in my chest. I felt like I didn't know what to do. So I finally wrote them each a separate letter. begging them to, try to get some help. As soon as I hit the send button on that letter, I felt better immediately.
Why do you think?
I guess because I spoke my piece. I spoke my truth.
Yeah, you're not responsible for your father's gambling addiction, and you're not responsible for rescuing your mother from it. They're grown-ass adults, and even though you feel like the parent instead of the child in this situation, and even though you love them and your heart aches for them, and you know that any addiction is just masking a deeper issue that your father hasn't dealt with and that your mom and dad haven't dealt with in your marriage, it's not your responsibility to bail them out. It's not your responsibility to change it. It's not your responsibility to do anything except to love them and to be there however it is that you can be there to offer support or offer recommendations. But when we step in and feel the responsibility for bailing somebody else out, we also rescue them from, and we rob them of the opportunity to face the things they didn't face. That's why your father has a gambling addiction, because he has some sort of trauma or some sort of deeper issue that he is avoiding by the rush of gambling. And you not running in and making this your problem to solve might just be the thing that has your dad face what he has not been able to face to this point. And so I'm really proud of you. And I'm not surprised that you felt better sending them a letter and letting them be in the mess that they've created and letting you be with the truth that you feel. And, the truth is you're there to support them, right? You're going to be there to pick up the call or to guide them in the right direction or help them with a Google search. But you're not there to fix this. And that's a beautiful, beautiful distinction. Let's go to Mimi in Canada. Mimi, thank you so much for holding so long.
Hi, this is Nini here.
Hi.
I started listening to you, everything that you had to say, and it has really changed my life. And, this let them theory has helped me so much. I was in a very dark place. It was very uncomfortable. But now I see that the other person sees that it's not affecting me. So they're going like up a notch every time to try to get a reaction out of me.
Mm-hmm.
So how long do you let them?
So
I know it's not affecting me, but then if you're living with that person 24/7 and they have to use your special needs child, try to manipulate you because they don't want to see you succeed.
mm-hmm.
And, now I've also put my foot down. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to let anything affect me. But then if somebody's 24/7 drilling that to your mind in the background, the background noise,
Yeah,
it does have an effect.
So can I ask you a
how
question?
long do you let them?
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. So is this a family member or a spouse or who is this?
Spouse, we've been separated, but because I'm not yet financially stable, so
Yep.
we're sharing the same house.
Okay.
But that's where the abuse is. And last year I hit my all-time low. I started getting my life together, my body together, my mind together, and now I just launched my business last week, and I'm so proud of myself. But that makes the other person uncomfortable.
Of course.
And they want to break me
Mimi.
because they
Mimi.
want to have me and torture me.
Mimi, where
Yeah.
else can you live?
Nowhere. This is all I have yet.
I
No
love
other
the
option.
yet. I love the yet. Wait, are you telling me you have no friends? You don't have family in Canada that you can live with?
I don't want to.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. When I said, who else do you have? You said nothing. This is it. And so I need to be very clear with you that you are choosing to stay in a living situation where somebody is beating you down. And when you answered, I have family, but I don't want to live there. You need to own the choice. And so if you're going to own the choice that you're going to live in the same physical household with the person you're divorcing who is beating you down every day, you need to own it loud and proud. You need to start saying, I could go live with my parents, but I don't want to, and I'm not going to. And I know when I walk in that door, that jerk is going to say something really mean to me because he's hurt and he's immature and he doesn't know else to do it. And I'm just going to let him say it and I'm going to ignore him. And I'm going to go into my room and I'm going to shut the door. And at some point, he might start yelling and I'm going to let him. But I need you to understand that that's screwed up, that you are staying in a situation where you're with somebody who is beating you down. I would rather see you and your special needs child move out, move in with your family, get into a situation where that is not your day-to-day reality. Because the fact is, while you're in the same apartment going through a divorce, if he has already started acting out, it's just going to escalate. This doesn't get better. And so, please, I want you to consider there are other options. And you moving out might just be what changes the dynamic.
Okay.
What do you think?
I was just waiting till I'm financially stable because family accepting a special needs child, people change. I have lived the reality. I know it sounds good to have a supporting family, but there's only so much others can do, and you don't want to be a burden on them. That's why I'm like every day working.
Hold
as
on.
hard
You're
and
not
fast
a
as I
burden.
can.
You are not a burden if you go to your family and say, can I move home for 6 months while I save some money and get my own place? That's not you being a burden. That is you as an adult asking for help in a situation where you need help.
Mm-hmm.
And they're either going to say yes or no. But even so, in asking, you are signaling to yourself, I'm not stuck here. I can create other options for myself. Heck, there might even be another woman that lives near you that's looking for a roommate that has a special needs son that's trying to get a divorce. Like, you don't know because you're not asking. And so I want you to continue to use the let them theory to not get hooked by your ex, who is going to continue to escalate because that's how he has always controlled you in the past. He can't control you anymore, which means he's getting more pissed off. That's exactly what you should expect. And now let me. Meaning, let me find another option here. Let me use my brain and get myself out of this stupid situation. Let me find a temporary living situation that's a little bit better while I get on my feet. Let me ask for help. Let me start problem solving. Let me take responsibility for putting myself and my special needs son in a better place. And stop telling yourself the story that it can't happen. I so believe in you. I'm proud of you based on everything that you have done in the last year to pull yourself out of that dark place and get yourself moving again and get this business launched. There is no doubt in my mind you have within you the ability to make this better too, and you will. Eva, welcome. You're on the Mel Robbins podcast.
Hi, Mel. I'm just excited to talk to you. I want to know if you can give me tips or advice on how I can get my husband on board with the theory. I think it would help him not have hang-ups about what other people do or really think. I think sometimes he overthinks, like, people don't invite me to lunch, or, my coworkers or family, he feels excluded. I'm trying to figure out how to get him involved or adopt this theory for himself.
Yeah, it's a great question because the example that you used with your husband is one we can all relate to. You see other people going out, you're not invited, and then you start to spiral and it become more painful because you start to tell yourself, nobody likes me and I must have done something wrong and these people are jerks. And so it just builds and builds and builds. And the thing is that the let them theory works because of a fundamental fact about relationships. And that fundamental fact is you can't force anyone else to change or to do something. You can try, You can try with manipulation, with pushing, with pleading, with trying to be inspiring. But at the end of the day, somebody only does something because they want to do something. Tell me more about why you're worried about your husband and the stress or the pain he's causing himself by being focused on other people's drama or what they're doing.
I just feel like sometimes I just feel like he's overthinking it, and I tell him, like, I think you're thinking about it more than what you're thinking about them more than they are thinking about you, or why you're not included.
Yeah. Tell me more though about
it's a constant conversation.
It's so it's stirring up his insecurity.
Exactly. I listen, and I'm okay with listening, but I just feel like we're not doing anything different. Like, it's always the same thing or pattern with either colleagues or family members. That's always, I've noticed that's a theme with him. Like, that conversation comes up. Sometimes when we're just talking, and then it'll pop up.
Well, this is very relatable, because whether you're dealing with a husband who gets himself all worked up about what family's doing or work colleagues are doing or friends are doing, or you're dealing with a child who feels left out at school, or you're dealing with a friend who feels, like somebody just broke up with them and it's never going to work out for them, the stories that you tell yourself are way more painful than the actual thing that's happening. And the danger here, and you're witnessing it happening, is your husband is now stuck in this pattern that people leave him out. And he's stuck in this pattern of seeing all the places where he doesn't belong. And part of the reason why these patterns are so painful is you get stuck in the pattern and you don't realize you actually have the power to change this dynamic. And what you said earlier is also true, that he's thinking about it more than the people who are out to lunch, because you know what? They're not thinking about him at all because they didn't invite him to lunch. And so the fact that your husband is wasting time and causing himself pain by constantly focusing on all the places where he hasn't been invited, or the fact that his, siblings are getting together and they didn't ask him, and all this stuff, it just creates internal agita. And so here's how you get someone else to consider something, because you can't force him. Like, you can't tie him down to the bed and put earphones on him and force him to listen to Mel Robbins. Even if you did that, he wouldn't absorb it, so it's not going to work. But you could say to him, I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned about you because I'm seeing this pattern where you're focused on all of the people and the places where you're not invited, or you're not seen, or you're not respected. And it's becoming a pattern. And I don't want this for you. You're a much more powerful person. You deserve more in your life. And I just listened to this podcast with this woman that has 10 million followers. And I think you'd get a lot out of this chick. And I think this thing that she talks about called the let them theory, I think it might help you find your power and not get so pissed off about this petty, stupid stuff. And if you appeal to his greater self, and if you appeal to the fact that you want more for him, that might inspire him to see more for himself and to listen to the episode. That's how I would do it. And I would appeal to the pain he's feeling and the fact that you want more for him, and that you realize you can't fix this for him. This is something he has to do for himself. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to send him this podcast from this cool chick that will really make him think about this. And second, the next time he talks about this again, you're just going to say, let them, as a cue. And it's going to get really annoying because you're not going to engage in the conversation anymore. You're done with the conversation because the conversation's not changing anything. And so you're not going to engage with it with him. And that's what you're going to do, because that's what you can control. And this is how the let them theory works. You are going to let your husband get upset about what his siblings are doing. You are going to say, let them to him after you've already provided the support of the podcast episode. And then you're going to let your husband be mad that you said let them. And then you're going to let him continue to bitch about what's going on, because only your husband can fix this. And what I want to applaud you for is that you care so much about him that you want this because you can see how much pain it's causing him. And the fact is, if we all stopped complaining about what's not working or what other people are doing or not doing or including us in or not, if we stopped doing that, we would find a lot of free time to make plans with people that we want to hang out with. And that's what's also available here. So I want to thank you for asking that question because it is so relatable. I wish you and your husband the best of luck. Thank you for shoving that episode at him and seeing if he'll take a listen to it. And you not participating anymore and letting him sit in his misery, that's going to intensify the fire and might actually motivate him to do something about it. Thanks for calling. All righty, everybody. That's all we got time for today. I want to remind you that if you're looking for the original Let Them Theory episode where I explain it in detail, I give you multiple examples of how to start using it. I talk about the 3 really important exceptions for when it doesn't apply. That episode is linked in all the show notes. You can find our show notes, melrobbins.com/podcast for this episode. And look, the thing that's so cool about the Let Them Theory is that when you realize that the art of letting other people being themselves is the pathway to you actually being responsible for your own life and being fully yourself, that's what the magic's all about. And that's why everybody's talking about this thing and using it. I'm Mel Robbins, and I'm teaching you a theory called the Let Them Theory that is something that I use nonstop. My kids also use this when I become an overbearing mother. And I had just explained that the Let Them Theory is used in a moment where you feel yourself ramping up the control. You're just wrapped around the axle. Your knickers are in a pinch. You can't believe so-and-so did such and such, or you're just thinking about it. Why didn't they invite me? Why does everybody get together? Why does my roommate always do this? She was in town and she didn't call me. Let them. Let them. Other people get to be themselves. Other people get to make decisions. The Let Them Theory is a way for you to address your own anxiety about uncertainty. It is a way for you to let people be who they are. It is a way for you to get out of other people's business and stick to your own business. And it is a way for you to create emotional peace, to not whip yourself into a frenzy, to not care about things that are really not your concern, and to stop this reflexive need to control or comment on everyone around you. I just, when I looked at the post that we did on Instagram, there were 9,800 comments this morning on this thing. It's only been up for a week. That's how much this struck a nerve. 9,800 comments in 1 week. That's incredible. Here's a great comment. Let people be who they are because sometimes you need that person that way. So let them. It doesn't have to be everything, a bad thing or anything. It's so true. I think about that with my husband. I used to get so annoyed because the guy's a slow processor. Just really, like you can almost hear the wheels turning as he's thinking about something. And he asks a lot of questions. And it used to drive me fucking crazy. I just would be like, could you spit it out? Like, what are you thinking about? And I realized I need him to be that way because I am moving at the speed of light. One of us has to have our feet on the ground. One of us has to be thinking through decisions. One of us has to make sure that the bills get paid and the dog gets to the vet and that the things that we're doing are thought through. And so I use the Let Them Theory to just let Chris be who he is and stop making him wrong and stop trying to control him. And it certainly creates more peace for him. And it also allows me to be more present. So let's talk about the 3 ways that you are going to use the Let Them Theory in your life. The first one is detachment. Use the Let Them Theory to detach yourself from the emotional or mental struggle that you can get yourself into when you're thinking about either what other people are doing or how things should be going, and to just tap into emotional peace. Sufama, I'm saying it wrong, wrote this on Instagram. I've wasted a lot of time, Mel, and energy feeling inadequate due to my expectations of other people. It hurts. Yet I've learned to make the conscious choice to keep doing me regardless of their behavior. It's fucking hard to be good at this. It requires practice. And you know what else I think it requires? When you realize this strikes a nerve for all of us, that we all have trouble with this because, of course, you have expectations. I'll give you an example. Have you ever gone to a wedding? And it's a wedding where a lot of your friends from college or a certain period of your life are going to be there, and you're so excited because you think that you're all going to be seated together. This always happens to me and Chris, always. And you go to the wedding and you go up to that beautiful display that people do now where everybody's cards are in a place to find out where you're sitting, and you pull out your card and you're like, oh, we're at table 11. Where are you guys? You're like, we're at table 3. We're at table 4. Oh, we're at table 4. We're at table 11 too. And you realize all your friends are sitting together but you. And in those moments, I want to try to switch cards. I want to make the bride and groom wrong. I want to... Let them. Let them. It's their wedding. Let them do what they want. Instead of feeling hurt, instead of feeling bummed, instead of looking over that table across the dance floor longingly and thinking, why the fuck am I with the second aunt and the cousins? Oh, I know, because I can talk to anybody. I can see it right now. They're sitting there. Oh, Mel and Chris can talk to anybody. We'll stick them over here. As I'm looking longingly across the dance floor and I'm making up a story, they're having way more fun. No, let them. Let the bride and groom do what they needed to do. Let the friends do what they're needing to do. Just let them. Because does that emotional turmoil that you create inside yourself, does it actually help you enjoy the wedding? No. Does it change where you're sitting? No. So let them. It's like a form of radical acceptance, and it is hard. It's hard because I think we default to holding on to our expectations or holding on to feeling hurt or wronged or having an opinion about how things should. It's too hot. Why are they doing it? Let them. Let them. If United Airlines wants to board from the back of the plane, let them. Who cares that you paid extra for extra legroom? You're still going to get it. Let them do what they need to do. Here's another comment. A friend told me that she was so upset and disappointed that another friend had gone without her on a trip that she thought that they were supposed to take together. My God, was she fixated on it. She just couldn't let it go. This is the perfect opportunity to tell your friend about the let them theory. Have you heard about the let them theory? When your friend does something that upsets you, let them. I mean, for all you know, it's not that they didn't want to go with you. It's that they just needed time alone. So let them take the trip alone. Why do you have to be so offended about everything? Why do you have to be so fucking hurt about everything? Not everything's that serious or that deep, everybody. Let people do what they need to do. That's detachment. And I think it's very straightforward. You're upset about something. You're talking about something. You're griping about something. You're feeling hurt about something. Use the let them theory. And, just for those of you that are kind of smarty pants and you're going to write in and be like, but what about if you're at the beach and they leave their shoes on the beach and you're what? You just let them leave the shoes on the beach? No. You're not upset about it, are you? Of course you're going to turn to your friend and be like, hey, dumbass, you left your flip-flops over there. Go get them. You're not going to let them do that. I'm talking about when you're getting yourself worked up about something. You're getting yourself annoyed about something. And I can give you another example. When I first moved to Vermont, we moved here, in March of 2020, say no more. And so there were travel restrictions for a couple years, and that limited anybody's ability to visit us. But it's now going on Oakley's junior year, and my parents have still yet to visit. And I was really hurt by this and really upset by it, thinking, wait a minute, he's now a junior in high school and they haven't come to see where we live. And I kept saying, just let them. Just let them. They have their reasons. Just keep inviting them and let them. And what I finally realized, because instead of being upset about it, I just had a conversation with my mom about it, is she said, I just don't like that state. And I said, why? And she told me the story about how when she was really little, her parents left her at the family farm with her grandmother, and they went to the state of Vermont with her older sister to do something related to an eye surgery. And while they were gone, my great-grandmother dropped dead next to my mom. And when my grandparents, her parents came home, one of the first things they said to her is, why didn't you save her? And so when I see that story, I see this isn't about me. This is about something else. Let people do what they need to do. When you give people the space to do things in a way that makes them feel comfortable, eventually they come around. And sure enough, they're going to be here in a month, and I can't wait. But you got to let them. Let them have the space to sort through their stuff. So let's talk about the second way you're going to use this theory. And this can be a little trickier because this is the let them theory. When you really need to take a step back and you got to let people fail. And you've got to give people the room to grow, the room to learn, and the room to take personal responsibility for something in their life. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. So when our son was in fifth grade, he went to this incredible school outside of Boston that focuses on language-based learning differences. So like dyslexia, dysgraphia, that kind of stuff. And I'll never forget, they said, if you forget their lunch, don't bring it. They're not going to go hungry, but don't bring it. Because so much of what we're trying to teach them is that they are capable of creating systems to remember things. And if they constantly forget things and you rescue them, they're never going to learn that. It's in the forgetting, it's in the sting, it's in the consequence of not doing something that you learn that this is important to you and you create systems and processes to actually do it. And so if they forget their lunch, let them do it. If they forget an application deadline for a job, let them forget. Why? Because they needed to learn that lesson. And here's the hardest application of this on the planet. If you have somebody in your life that's struggling with addiction, anybody who has dealt with this will tell you, nobody gets sober until they're ready to. And so if somebody is not ready to go to rehab, let them. If you force them to go, they're just going to leave. If somebody relapses, let them. It's not until they tell you that they're ready for help that they are going to actually use the help that you give them. And this is a really, really, really hard thing to grasp in your life. Let them. Just let them. And it's important because every time that you bail your sister out who's terrible with money and you loan her money, you know what happens? She continues to be terrible with money. Sometimes you need the sting of 11 bounce checks or the lien on the house, which is what happened to Chris and I back in, 2000, whatever. I remember he asked his brother to loan him some money and he said, I'm sorry. If me not giving you this money is the reason why the business fails and you go bankrupt, then so be it. But I can't bail you out. You got to figure out how to do this yourself. He let Chris fail. And it was one of the most important things in the world. Why? Because he wasn't responsible for Chris's failure. Chris was. And he wasn't responsible for rescuing him. Chris was. And when you constantly rescue people, you're teaching them that they're not capable of rescuing themselves. And so, the next time you get that whiny phone call from somebody that needs money, or somebody that forgot something, or somebody that wants to transfer yet again, don't control the situation. Simply hear them out and say, if you want to do that, great, I'll support you by cheering you on. But you're going to have to do the paperwork. You're going to have to figure out how to get out of debt. You're going to have to come to me when you're ready to get clean. You gotta let them do it themselves. And here's one more thing on that. Every time you rescue somebody, you rob them of the opportunity to grow. Every time you step in and you make the problem go away, you make the person a little weaker and more dependent on you. So if you truly want somebody to tap into the strength inside themselves, yes, there is a time to support people. But if somebody keeps relapsing, if somebody keeps forgetting their lunch, if somebody keeps dating the same toxic fucking person, let them. Because eventually it's not going to work. And then they're going to come to you and ask for help. And when they do, they'll be ready to accept it. And, you know, for you people pleasers out here, like Ann Waters, who commented on my Instagram post, she says, but Mel, I'm a people pleaser and I keep doing lots of stuff for other people. How the heck do I stop doing that? The let them theory. Let them do it themselves. Let your kids do their laundry and have the jeans bleed into the sweatshirts and have it all be that kind of weird bluish gray color. Let them do that. Let them learn that they actually care about doing it right. Let everybody at work go without having their birthdays celebrated. Why do you have to be the one that remembers it and brings all the cupcakes? Just let them. Let your brother host the holidays this year. Why do you have to bend yourself over backwards? Let them step up. Let your friends make the plans. Why do you have to be the one that makes the plans all the time? And finally, work. If you feel like you take on everybody's work, let them do their own job. It's certainly going to be easier on you when you use the let them do it theory. Oh, it's your presentation, you're behind the ball? I'm sorry, I've got these 55,000. I wish I could help, but I'm going to let you keep that on your plate. Thank you very much. And this one is really difficult. Let them be themselves. I'll say it again. Let the people in your life be who they are, and let them be who they're not. See, I think that we all make the mistake of getting into relationships, and we're not really in a relationship with the person as they are. We're in a relationship with the potential. And when you focus on someone's potential and you start to try to control and manipulate and want them to reach that potential or change or be different, you're not letting them be themselves. And that not only sucks for the other person, because there's nothing that feels good about being on the receiving end of that. Don't wear those shoes. You need an umbrella. Why are you doing that? Well, you should train with that. You should lose some weight. Why are you eating gluten? Come on. Won't you go to this movie with me? Why do you have to always do that thing? That doesn't feel good, does it? So stop doing it to other people. Let them be themselves. And stop and think. Are you truly in a relationship with the person as they are? Or are you in a relationship with who you wish they were? And you know that that's true if you're constantly in your mind griping about what you wish they would change instead of letting them be themselves. And if you can catch this, that you're always dating the potential, that you're always in a friendship that you hope will improve, you'll realize that you're not even present with the person as they are. And when you give somebody the freedom to be themselves, guess what happens? You see who they really are. I can think of a lot of relationships that I've been in where I spent a lot of time griping about behaviors I didn't like. And when you distract yourself by griping about the fact that they drink too much or they have a drug problem or, you know, they're not as ambitious as you'd like, or you wish they worked out, or you can't stand their short hair and you wish they grew it longer, or you hate their family, or you don't like that thing that they do, or the sex is really bad, you're not really with them. You're so focused on all the things that you don't like and the things that you wish you would change that you're in a relationship with the things you don't like because that's what you're focused on. And when you distract yourself like that, it keeps you from addressing the reality. And the reality is you're probably not with somebody that you actually want to be with. You've just kept yourself busy griping about what you wish would change and deluding yourself into thinking that it actually might change. It's not going to. You got to let them be who they are so that you can deal with the reality of who someone is. And when you finally deal with the reality of who someone is, then you can make a great choice about who you really are and what you really need. And, you know, there was one thing that I forgot to mention that I think is really, really important, and it has to do with relationships. And one way that we try to control other people is through jealousy. And if this is something that you struggle with, you need the let them theory. Because jealousy, if you're jealous of, let's say, your partner spending time with their kids from another marriage, if you're jealous of when your boyfriend goes off and plays golf with his friends, if you're jealous of when your girlfriend or your wife is spending more time with the kids and they're bonding over. This is a major problem because jealousy in this regard, this is your attempt to control other people. Because when you get jealous about your partner spending time with their kids from the first marriage, your jealousy is an attempt to try to get them to stop doing that. And so I want to unpack this because you need the let them theory. You need to let people have their friendships and have their time with their kids and have close friendships with people of the same sex. That's important. And it's important to let them do that without you getting triggered. And here's why. Because when you feel jealous and you're trying to control somebody and stop them from hanging out with their girlfriends or whatever the hell it may be, or friends from their former marriage, and that really threatens you. The reason why you feel jealous is you're threatened. And you're telling yourself that they don't love you as much as those other people, or that they're not going to love you if they hang out with those people. And what's interesting about that is your jealousy and your controlling is an attempt to get more love. But it backfires, doesn't it? Because you're not present to love when you're jealous. You're actually present to less control and less love. So if you want more love, which is why you're jealous, then let them do what they're going to do and bring more love to the situation. By letting them do what they're going to do and spend time with their kids and spend time playing golf or spend time on that project that they're working on, you're showing them that you love them as they are. It's an act of love to let people do what makes them feel good. And so, A, you're no longer feeling that toxic emotion of jealousy. B, you're giving somebody the most loving gift that you can, which is accepting who they are and supporting what makes them happy. And C, ultimately, if you keep practicing this, you're going to get what you wanted all along, which is the feeling of more love in your life because you've let go and you've accepted what is. And when you let go and accept what is, that person's going to love you back more. See how this works? Let them. Let them. And the final example that I'm going to give you is let people have their emotions. Let them have their opinions. You trying to control what somebody feels and what they say, that is a one-way ticket to the end of a relationship. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you and your best friend have started to grow apart. Maybe one of you moved away. Maybe one of you are in a really serious relationship and the other one's single. The patterns of your life have started to change. Hence, your relationship starts to change. You still care about one another, but you just don't see each other as much. And let's just say that your friend comes to you and says, I feel like you've changed. I feel like I'm not important anymore. I feel like I've always been there for you and you're never there for me anymore because you're so busy with your boyfriend or you're so busy with this, that, and the other thing. Let them have those feelings. You don't need to control what they think. One of the greatest acts of generosity and love that a human being can give to another human being is to just listen to what somebody's story is, to witness somebody's feelings about something and validate it. That's it. That's all you need to do. And when somebody is given the space because you let them share how they're feeling, they're mad at you. They're upset about you. They're frustrated with this. They feel wrong. They feel hurt. They feel this. They feel that. Something amazing happens. You learn this skill of being able to detach. You learn how to let people be upset and not put your hooks into it. You learn the ability to have feelings rise and fall. It just happened to me this morning, in fact. Because I had told our daughter Kendall, who's home for a couple weeks, that I would love to do something this morning together. And the morning, of course, came and a lot of stuff happened. And then it was 10 o'clock and she was going to help me go through some things in my closet. And she started to go, we got to get going on this because if we don't get going on this, we're only going to be doing it for 15 minutes. And if we only do it for 15 minutes, I'm going to have a fucking attitude, okay? Because I'm going to feel really pissed off about it. You know what I did? I let her. I let her have that frustration. It was so liberating because I realize now that I know the let them theory, that I was often engaging in this like emotional tug of war with people in my life. They'd get upset. I'd try to calm them down. Then they'd get more upset. Then I'd try to be responsible for why they're upset. Then I'm trying to solve it. Then they're doing, and it just becomes this. Nobody's letting anybody do anything. We're arguing over how we feel. It is so fucking stupid. The let them theory allows you to observe people's emotional distress and let them have it and let you off the hook from rescuing them or being responsible for it. It is such a beautiful thing. That's my gift to you today, the let them theory. Because when you let somebody be free to be who they are in their best and their worst moments, that freedom that you're giving to somebody else, that gift of not controlling, you know what happens? You get a gift in return. You get peace and ease back in your life. And the more that people realize that around you, they have the freedom to express themselves and the freedom to show up as themselves, guess what? The less you're going to need to control people. And the more you're going to focus on you. The next time that you feel yourself getting all bent out of shape about something, okay? Something big, something small, doesn't matter. You're going to pull out the let them theory. And this is how you can coach yourself through it. First of all, you can ask yourself, well, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And in the example I've been giving, which is a really dumb example, the avocado pit, the second you ask yourself, well, what am I afraid of? That my son's in a tux and his date's in a long dress with a train and it's pouring rain, cats and dogs style outside, and they're at a tiny little burrito taco joint in the middle of town. What am I afraid of? And then I go, well, her dress and his tux and the shoes we just did. You'll realize how absurd most of the shit is that you get all frustrated and upset about. What are you afraid of when United Airlines is boarding from the back of the plane? Seriously? You afraid you're not going to get your suitcase up on the thing and you paid the money? Please. There are bigger fish to fry. There are also moments where you're going to ask that question, like if you have somebody struggling with addiction. Well, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid they're going to die. I'm afraid they're going to be out on the street and they're going to die. That is a valid thing to be afraid of. And then you can ask yourself, well, is it true? Are they going to? You don't know. You really don't. And when you really don't know if it's true or not, I say that you can't hold it over your head as a reason to be so controlling or be so concerned about it. Second thing, always ask yourself, whose business am I in? Am I in my business or their business? When I'm trying to micromanage my son, I'm in his business. When I am upset with a friend who's upset with me, I'm in my friend's business. When I am feeling wronged because I got sat at the wrong table or I wasn't invited to the such and such or I didn't win that award that I thought I should win, I'm in somebody else's business because I'm trying to change something related to somebody else. You always want to be in your own business. You always want to be dealing with your feelings and what you can do about it. And I got one more example about this. I recently went away with a bunch of women that I've become friends with, and we met inside of a much larger kind of group of people. And I found out after the fact that there was somebody who had been telling other people that they were really bummed and hurt that they weren't included. And for a minute, I felt bad. But I used the let them theory. Let them be hurt. Let them be bummed that they weren't invited. It's not my responsibility, and it's not your responsibility to make sure everybody's feelings are okay. It's my responsibility to take care of myself. And having been on the other side of that story, where for years I was so busy working that I let my female friendships just go. I was always working. And then when I got home, I was so tired. I would constantly feel hurt that I wasn't included in things. I was constantly feeling FOMO, that people were out at parties or out to dinner or getting together with their kids and we weren't included. When I feel like that, I'm in their business. The harder thing, when you just let people get together and not invite you, let people do what they're going to do and not include you. The harder thing is to get back into your business, which is, if this bothers you so much, What are you going to do about it, Mel? Because what I realize for myself is that, of course, nobody invites me anywhere. You want to know why? I'm not prioritizing my friendships. I haven't thrown a party in a long time. I haven't planned a women's weekend in 5 years. If I really want more of this in my life, it's not up to me to control other people to make them invite me. It's up to me to be responsible for creating these experiences. That means I'm now focused on my business, not on trying to control other people's business. And third, the other thing that you can do is you can ask yourself, what feels more like peace? Does trying to get the kids not to go to the taco place feel like peace? Nope. Feels like control. So let's let them do that. Does bitching about the fact that you weren't invited somewhere feel like peace? Nope. So we're going to let them do that. Does trying to force your husband to go to the gym with you feel like peace? Nope. We're going to let them not go. Always move toward peace when you feel yourself getting all ramped up with the emotions and the gripping and the control and the opinions. Hands off, drop the oars. Let them do what they're going to do. And you focus on what you're going to do. Because what you're going to do is you're going to stop the control. You're going to stop the rumination. And you, my friend, are going to just drift back down with the current and feel that emotional peace that washes over you. Let them. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.